Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Dave for a very interesting discussion. Today is Friday, the 20th of May, at the time of this video going up, and that means we are only 1 week away from the return of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we're going to do a fun roundtable discussion. We're calling it a predictions video, but me and Dave aren't just going to sit here shouting, saying we want to see X, Y, and Z, or else we'll riot A, B, and C. We're just going to have a bit of fun, talking some Star Wars, talking Kenobi, things we'd like to see, things we might see, and all that just kind of nice chit chat, hyping up, I guess, the show a week before it comes out. So, with that being said, Dave, how are we doing tonight?
Very well, my friend. Yeah, got a big weekend ahead, and I literally cannot believe we're only 7 days out from seeing brand new Obi-Wan Kenobi. Not only that, 2 episodes as well. So we get a really nice big bulk of Obi-Wan Kenobi next week, which seems insane from it being announced and it being talked about for so long that we're finally at this point. I can't wait.
What's mad, like, we've known each other just under 6 years now.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine even 6 years ago having a conversation that's like, so Ewan McGregor's coming back. Like, I don't think we ever probably had that conversation for quite a while after.
Yeah.
While after it all did, and it's just mad. But obviously, with this being, the series isn't out yet. Comment below some of your thoughts and hopes for Obi-Wan Kenobi, predictions, things you'd like to see, things you think we might see. Obviously, we are recording this in advance. The show isn't out yet, so commenting after next Friday, it's really quite pointless at this point in time. And another big elephant in the room, Star Wars Celebration starts next week, Thursday, the 26th of May. There will be a stream that night of us covering the first big panel. And we have some tidbits of news we'll be able to answer near the time, but we do have not a man on the ground, a woman on the ground doing some coverage for us. So more details to follow. As a comment below, hit the share button, subscribe if you're a fan of Star Wars. You've got good company for the next few weeks. Dave, I know we've already had the discussion. Of course, you'll be joining us on at least the first 2 episodes next Friday for Kenobi spoiler discussion. And I'm sure they'll have other familiar faces across the weeks that do follow. So everybody, if you are intrigued, this is really a place to be. It's a safe space for all Star Wars fans. And if you don't follow us on social media, I never normally rave about Twitter. I'm not going to lie. The time it's going up yesterday, we were in the Obi-Wan Kenobi press conference, which is a highlight for the channel. Yes, it's only a press conference. Yes, there are hundreds of people in there. But we got accredited for Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was pretty radical. So we've got a whole pin set of tweets from the event. We were covering, we had Deborah Chow, Ewan McGregor, Moses Ingram. Hayden was not there in attendance. That had to change the last few minutes. But we had a lot of stuff. So Twitter is officially a place to be for where we had some exclusive kind of stuff. I'm sure at the time this video going out, it's already on all the news outlets now everywhere. But yeah, it was tweeted. But it is a fascinating one. But I keep speaking. I'm going on too long. Dave, actually, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm not going to ask you what your thoughts on Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's ridiculous. But, we're a week away.
Yeah.
How are you like feeling like hype wise or like processing what's coming in terms of this series? I'm really curious. It's a really random thing to start with as well.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like it's a bizarre one for us to talk about. I mean, obviously, Star Wars is my jam. That's been my thing for many, many years. To know we're getting this and it being so close is a very strange feeling. The hype is massive, but until I'm kind of watching those first few episodes and start seeing where we're going and sort of the way it's not the way it's shot, but sort of how the feeling behind the series, and you get that overall feel for how they're going to use the story and the characters, and that's really what I'm excited for, to see where the moment that we get picked up, to see where we've been. Because will we get a little crawl? Will we get some kind of wording on the screen to say this is where we are, this is how long it's been since episode 3 finished? I'd be really interested to see if that's we're going to get because obviously we're not just going to go 10, might even just get 10 years later, who knows, but I'd like us to maybe just get a little bit of just like, this is when this was, this is where we are, we're continuing our story. I just think it'd be really, really nice to get that, because he looks bit older, a bit different, and we are. Is it 10 years from
10 years, yeah.
Sith? 10 years. So yeah, so I couldn't be more hyped for this series. It's going to be I've got stuff on over the week, which is nice to kind of get to next Friday, but I'm really, really excited to get there.
I had not thought of any of that, until you just said it, and now the hype has gone up even more. Like, I'm so curious now. Like, again, I don't want to sit here theorizing, but this is the first time I've had this mental image in my head. Wouldn't it be really cool if they had Ewan record the this is, I'm not going to the posh accent, but the message. This
The
is
message,
Obi-Wan.
Jedi.
Could you imagine? I know Rebels kind of did it in a teaser, but I just hadn't even thought about how the show's going to start. That's actually quite insane.
Yeah,
How is the show going to start? Is it
exactly?
It's
Yeah.
going to be like, because Solo had words and it was very wordy.
Solo had a crawl that wasn't a crawl. Basically, it's like it was written as a crawl, but we're going to have to not have a crawl. So I think we might get something similar. But that's really intriguing. Like, how do you start the show? Yes, you've got your core audience who are coming to this to see you and back, know when the timeline is, know whereabouts we're doing, what we're watching. I've almost got a feeling that very first shot we'll see is him watching over Luke. Like the very first thing we see of him. That's just I don't know whether it will, but that's just my feeling that we might see really, really early a little bit of maybe some wording of where he is, and then him watching over Luke, and then the story is kind of maybe where I think it might start. But that's just would be my starting point for those in the know. I think that's would be a really easy starting point. But I do think there are going to people come to this series who maybe aren't as au fait, but have got massive hype because Ewan McGregor's back, and it's everywhere. You can't kind of turn around a corner at the moment without seeing it, or go online, and Twitter is just full of Ewan McGregor and memes and some of the best bits of Star Wars. And it's really nice because let's not say it's not out there. The discourse sometimes that's been behind Star Wars, when things like this come out, that kind of everybody is wanting, that kind of drifts away really nicely. And even if Kathleen Kennedy says one line in an interview and then people pick on it, but we'll not talk about that. But yeah, so I just think we're going to get something, and that's kind of the first point I'm really interested in, is where we start from.
I honestly hadn't considered any of that, and I think that's actually a really fascinating thing. That inherently, that's probably one of the more difficult things for them to have done. Saying, how do we just, because we know what's going to happen to a point. We know they're going to be on Tatooine, but how do you accommodate for the people that maybe haven't seen the prequels? I'm not saying you don't have to, but Mandalorian was easy. You didn't need any form of a start point. You could turn up, new era to a point. Obviously, now you need to watch it all. But back then, season 1, let's just have him in a bar. You can't just have Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're not going to get a Clone Wars intro saying like previously on the Clone Wars, and then it's just like the events of Revenge of the Sith. That would be absolutely insane. Be fantastic though. I wouldn't rule it out if you got that in live action. But yeah, that's a really good question. And going back to what we said about Luke as well, I have a feeling like I know we're getting the first episodes, and another way to say it is we're getting a third of a series on its release day, which is kind of cool. I am very much for the episodic hype these days, and I would like to watch 6 hours of Kenobi at once. But first episodes being back with Ewan McGregor, 17 years gap, which is so it's the day of us recording. It's 17 years the day that Revenge of the Sith came out, and 23 years Phantom Menace, which is crazy. And 20 years also Monday for what I'm curious about is, again, as you said, not just starting it, but we're obviously going to leave Tatooine. We know that that's a fact in the trailer. Without we're going to talk about some of the characters and stuff like to see that stuff, but just because you mentioned again about the intro, I'm really curious. How do you see episode? Not how do you see episode ending, but I think by the end of episode 2, he'll be whipping off into space in a vehicle. I think this will be. We're going to get this episode 1, this hour slog of depression, which I really want to see. See this broken Jedi who's lost his faith, all that sort of stuff, and then it really kicks on. And I think we're going to get something similar to that. Am I reading ahead? Am I looking ahead? Am I thinking too much?
No, I think you're in the right place to think that he's watching over this kid, and obviously we've seen from the trailers that come out, they're very much aware that Kenobi is out there and alive, which before we kind of got the confirmation of the trailer was never something that was kind of like out there and discussed and like known that he's like Vader knows that he's around, which obviously now he does. We've seen the wanted poster and things for him as well. So they obviously know there are some Jedi out there, and Kenobi's obviously top of Vader's wanted list. So I think very much we're going to get a early look at what's going on. I think we discussed this in one of the previous videos that we're talking, where we're going to see in the first 2 episodes probably most of what we've seen in the trailer. I don't think we'll see a lot. I don't think we've seen a lot outside of those first 2 we're going to see in the opening. So I do think we'll see a lot on Tatooine. I think he'll be discovered on Tatooine, and then he will, for some reason, he will have to take that mission out of Tatooine and away. Want to take them maybe away, the Inquisitors away from Luke, because if they find out that, then obviously that just unravels. So I think that could be one of the big reasons for him going, right, I'm going to take this off world, and we'll take them to some other place and get these Inquisitors away. But as I say, it's really tough because we don't know. We've seen the plans we're going to, that one that's that the Stormtroopers marching on and the Inquisitors are there as well. But we don't know why Kenobi chosen that planet, why he's gone there, who's there for him to go to there. There's got to be some reason that he chooses that as a planet. If he's in touch with somebody, there are so many questions to still be answered, and we know so little yet. The trailers seem to show so much.
No, it's a really good point, and I think they're the kind of questions that we've got. And obviously we're not writing this. Obviously, Deborah Charles produced and directed it. I apologize, I've forgotten the writer's name. I know it went through different writers, and I want to kind of add to that is that there's nothing wrong with that. That they have very much expressed throughout this production cycle that they wanted to get it right. They wanted to take their time. They were willing to. I don't even want to use the word delay, because inherently there was never a release date to delay. But this has been the one show where patience has been important, and without commentating on Marvel and all the current Disney Plus shenanigans and CGI on She-Hulk, which is its own discussion. And I'm just going to say it's probably not finished, but it doesn't look great either way to release that trailer when it's not finished. Anyway, there is no Kenobi must fit in X, Y, and Z window. There's no Kenobi cinematic universe. There's none of that. This is like a one and done. It's what would have been a film now converted into a TV show for us to watch episodic weekly. And as we said, it's Ewan McGregor coming back to Kenobi. It's the prequel generations, Force Awakens. I don't mean that disrespectfully to Force Awakens, but now someone said that to me, there's got to be someone comment if there's a better way of saying it, but 17 years obviously isn't the 32 years that you had from, 6 to 7. Sorry, that sounds ridiculous. I was like, yeah, there was 30 years between 2 films, but there was a trilogy beforehand. I can understand the comparisons to this being The Force Awakens to some prequel fans, and by making the comparison, I'm not saying in terms of stature. This isn't going to be The Force Awakens, quite literally, for prequel fans, because prequel fans were hyped for Force Awakens, likely enjoyed it, and there'll be some that didn't, which is absolutely fine. And it's this weird outrage culture where they're just desperate for the aggro and attention to, like, we used to hate the prequels and now we hate the sequels, and actually the prequels are great all along and George Lucas was great, but now there's a woman in charge and I can't cope. Without spiraling into that conversation, Kenobi's been really weird for me because, Ewan spoke a lot about the prequel generation. They're not the ones giving abuse in the streets. And if there are people saying, I hate Kathleen Kennedy, I hate the cast, I hate X, Y, and Z, should they not listen to Ewan McGregor saying he used to get abuse in the street 24/7? And then the kid grew up. And you mentioned at the start, he's been really into this. I feel he's had these emotions for like 5-6 years where, I'm not going to just say my age. There would have been people older than me that absolutely loved them. There would have been people younger than me that loved them. But I guess you could say the social media era, red carpets, all that kind of stuff, meme culture, all of these things. The prequels have risen. It's a bit like the Tobey Maguire Renaissance, and I feel it's an age thing. Both 20-ish years now. Again, meme culture really hyphens these kind of things. It's really fascinating that people just have such a backwards opinion and they just don't see the hypocrisy in actions. I know I've put this on a bit of a tangent. This isn't a prediction as such, but I will also make a prediction that if this show doesn't go I said film then. If this show doesn't go the way some people think, we're just going to get the same old, and I don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to get an incredible story, but I just can't rule out those people that do go for the easy clicks. You know what I mean? Like what's his name? Star Wars Theory.
Yeah, you're going to get those people who are out ready for any slight failure in this, who are going to jump on things. Of course, they are. Like
they got the Knives Out. Ryan Johnson reference. They'll love that.
Maybe in the cinemas soon. So yeah, I just think that you're always going to have the discourse around it. As I said earlier, it's been really nice to build up to Kenobi, because when the community of fans come together over something that they are ready for and want, you get this wave of almost like a love for what's coming. And Ewan McGregor going back is the one thing across the board everybody wanted. No one would have ever been able to forgive if it wasn't going to be Ewan. And like he said in interviews, it's my job. It was always going to be. It was never going to be anybody else. It was always mine. And I just, there's going to be. I mean, I think I don't know if you've mentioned, but the Vanity Fair. If you get a chance to read that Vanity Fair piece that was in this week, it's an exceptional piece. It's a very long article. I think it must be. I mean, read it online, but it must be 9-10 pages going through what's being taken from sort of the Mandalorian and how they came to be, and how Ewan's back with this, and talking to Hayden, and they go through so much. And if you do get a chance to read the Vanity Fair piece, it's on their website. You can go to vanityfair.com, I think, and read it on there as well. It's an exceptional piece. Some people have taken one line and ran with that on certain articles.
The editor of the actual article itself has cocked up with that one line, which is even more ridiculous. But I do want to add off what you said, Vanity Fair. From what I believe, there are a few interviews, and they're going to be staggering the release of these interviews until the issue comes out. And there is meant to be a formal sit down with Kathleen Kennedy. So I think they've literally just plucked the one line out of context. And for anyone that has been moaning, they're not recasting these characters. Well, why is there going to be a Lando series starring Donald Glover? It's not a DH Billy D. Williams. Conversation ended.
It's a shame, but you can't. I mean, look, we're in the world of the internet. We're both on YouTube. We do things to kind of, you want to draw people in, an audience isn't. Of course, it was going to, and people, of course, are going to jump on that on Twitter and put it up, because there is this massive love of Star Wars fans who love Solo, and of course, it was going to come at that. But anyway, that aside, back to Kenobi. Where were we? Yes, talking about this broken man we're going to see, and we're going to just jump back, and I think it's really, really lovely to be back with this character we all want to see. I think it's just going to be this big emotional release when people see him again. To actually see Ewan playing that part again is something we've waited for so long. And I think you're really right that it's going to be interesting to see the broken version of a Jedi, which we haven't really had. Anakin wasn't broken in that way. He was more torn into the dark side, and he was there, but never a Jedi who's just been on the side of, I've lost everything. Everything I believed in is gone. I've lost everybody who I was there with. And more than anything, he lost his brother. Basically, he lost the fight. He lost Anakin. I think Deborah Chow's come out this week as well, and some interviews said this is like a love story as well between these two characters. Kenobi loved Anakin, and it's about how could there not still be that feeling in Obi-Wan, knowing that he's Vader, to still have this pull and draw towards him. I think that's going to be a really interesting take, that he's not going to just try and fight a villain. He's not going to find Darth Vader to try and defeat him. He's still looking for his brother. He's still looking for his brother in arms that he had a battle with that he never wanted to have. And I think that's going to be a really interesting take when they are face to face, because we know it's pretty much in the marketing that they're going to have another meeting. This will be their meeting before A New Hope. And I think that's going to be a really interesting take, and how that positions us when we see that on the Death Star. It's this story of friendship and the ongoing friendship, and feeling that certainly Obi-Wan will have for Anakin, whether that's all being driven out of Anakin for Obi-Wan, his last words were, I hate you, and whether that's still literally burn into him, is a really interesting story point. I can't wait to see that meeting again.
No, I'm glad you've said that, actually, because the meeting's going to be so important, because obviously, where we get to in A New Hope, the classic line, the presence I've not felt since, brackets, he doesn't say rocks in Mustafar. It's very open-ended. And I think we're going for what you said, and a lot of things I've seen recently is, would Obi-Wan just not seen for 19 years? I mean, I say it's seen recently. I've seen this last 2-3 years since this show's been announced, since Hayden's been announced, and we'll get to Hayden shortly, which we're really excited to talk about. But, he wouldn't just tell 19 years later, not send him for a day, but I'm here to kill you, mate. Or just to sacrifice himself. Yeah. I think there's going to be not even a discussion. I feel like we're going to get something we've just never seen. And I don't want to say drama, but I feel like what they've prepped for Vader and Kenobi, preluding the duel and maybe after the duel, is just something we've never imagined. Now, I have theories, and I don't like running fan theories round. And mine's ridiculous. Do I say them? I don't know. But you know how you get the discussion before the duel in 3, right, with Padme and all that sort of stuff. On a tangent, and we've not spoke about Hayden or the Inquisitors yet, I'm gonna just go out on a whim and say, me and you said before we went live that we've seen Moses Ingram doing all the promotion with Kenobi. With Hayden and Ewan. And you see like trio shots of them together, and some people, fans more so than Star Wars, are marketing them as a trio. Now, trio is a very loose term. Yes, they are 3 people, but they aren't inherently like a protagonist trio like Padme, Anakin, Obi-Wan, or Han, Luke, Leia, Poe, Finn, Rey. I think we're just going to get. I mean, without just getting too predictable, but there's no way Reva's coming out of the show live, because I'm just going to be obvious. She's not in Rebels. Rebels, like spoiler alert for a 7-year-old show. We know Grand Quiz is going to get out alive, at least for this one. And I'm not going to sit here and be smug either with stuff like that. Like it's like the same with Jedi Fallen Order. Just remember, like, a new Inquisitor would pop up, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we're going to beat you. Why? Because we didn't see you in Rebels." Vader pops up. Well, we know he is in Rebels, but he's going to survive that too. And I just feel, with Rever at the start, I thought, okay, we're getting a cool badass Inquisitor. That's nice. But to see this really increased marketing perspective, I feel like we're gonna get like actual character from it, and that sounds ridiculous. I'm not saying you need to develop everything, but when we were on the premise that this was a 2-hour film that's now, I'm gonna be blunt and say 4.5 to 5 hours probably, when it's filled out. Develop some of those characters, villains more. But I would bet you right now, before the duel begins, you will get Anakin and Obi-Wan's confrontation dialogue. Maybe not meme dialogue like previously. But I think Reva will be there. And I think she'll be killed by Darth Vader before those two go for the fight. And I'm not going to sit here doing parallels like poetry at rhymes. None of that. I don't want to sit here and theorize and say X, Y, Z, or I'll scream and cry. I wouldn't even be surprised if we have a similar death to Padme. Not dying of sadness, but like, let go, Anakin. All that kinds of... I could just... There's something I see them doing where there's going to have to be a moment. As you said, he didn't want to ever duel him in 3. And I feel like it would be the same now. Like, I feel like Obi-Wan is... What happens in this show is going to make him know that Anakin is dead and that Luke is the final hope and that nothing is going to go back. And this is why, like, my logic of I think Reva will die by Darth Vader in front of Obi-Wan whilst he's trying to do good and convert him or her or whatnot, being back into the light. And that sounds a bit deep, and I wasn't trying to do big predictions, but does that make any sort of logic sense to you? Like, we need something before they fight. That's my main anticipation.
Yeah, I mean, I get it completely. I don't think River will see out the series as well. And absolutely, my thought is that Vader will be the one who, if anybody kills, it'll be Vader. And maybe not in the same way that it's before that duel, but definitely, I think in a lot of the comic books that's known that Vader is quite not enamored. Let's go with the Inquisitors, thinking that the Emperor's going to replace him, which eventually he tries to do with Luke anyway. So he was always looking for the next big thing to take his place. He wants that Skywalker blood. But it's so it's really interesting that she's, like I say, she's been she's got him in the marketing, and we've seen the Grand Inquisitor. We know he's going to be in Rebels, so we know he's going to get out. We mentioned just before we came on air that I think that she will be then given the mission to go after Kenobi, and the Grand Inquisitor will maybe be in those first couple of episodes, maybe spread like dotted throughout the other episodes, but just a sort of there's the Grand Inquisitor still. He's still part of this. He's giving out the orders and the mission. Reva, yeah, I think you're absolutely right in the right place. That again, Vader will care whether it's for doing something. Maybe he saves Kenobi for some reason. Maybe she's about to get Kenobi, something like that, and he just kills her and like, no, he's mine, or some of those lines. But I think you're right with. I don't think even when we get to this battle or whatever this is, whether it's a big battle, a small battle. I mean, we had big discussions when it came around to Rebels and Maul and Darth Vader fighting again, how big a battle that was going to be, and that's 3 lightsaber and done. And I think Kenobi will be still in that very much that frame of mind. If he's fighting Vader, and he won't want that big battle with him again. I think it'll be very controlled. I don't think it'll be like they've said again in interviews that have been out that they've been watching and studying the prequel fighting styles for when they go back to this, but I don't think we're going to see those. We're never going to see like that speed duel with Maul and Kenobi on Naboo. We're not getting that. But we are say that we're seeing Vader at his most Vadery in this. So just before we get to Rogue One, Vader. So we're getting that. I just think there's so many parallels to draw. We're going to see a new version of Vader looking incredible in the. If you've seen some of the pictures, it looks amazing. I don't know if it's Hayden in the suit all the time. I'm guessing he'll be used sporadically when they're going to focus on him not being in the suit, I guess. But yeah, so I think it's very much going to be that she won't see the series out. The Grand Inquisitor will. Even he could do with in the end. Someone will get rid of. But I feel like Vader has to get rid of someone important from the story. It feels like that's right for him to do to make him. He's the big threat. He should show his power somewhere along the line with someone who doesn't really matter to the ongoing story, but plays a big role in this. So Reva makes perfect sense for me to Vader to do away with.
Yeah, and I think as well, going off what you said, the whole Vader, even the dueling, as you said, they're going to follow the prequel lineage to a point, but they're older. And obviously that photo from Vanity Fair, like the one of Hayden in rehearsal, just storming forward with the lunge. That is Darth Vader. Like the concept art using this thumbnail, like that is what we're expecting, and that's what I'm so curious for. Like, it's going to be a heavy suit on him, and he's meant to be playing Darth Vader, and this is what kind of excites me. And I guess it's worth having a discussion about sort of Hayden's return as well shortly, but just when we're going to get to the duel, as you said, it's going to be different. It's not going to be running around Mustafar. It's not going to be Duel of the Fates. Now, I feel like you can dip into it, but you can't have it for you can't have it for 20 minutes. I know it's a TV show as well, and that's the other thing. Like maybe it is. If we literally get Battle of Mustafar like version 2, I will be off my rocker. I don't think I'll ever recover. I will probably end up booking the finale off work if I'm being blunt at this point in time. I put the opening 2 days off, but yeah, let's talk Hayden Christensen, the return of Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. I can't even remember them announcing him for this. What I feel with Kenobi is that when this show was just in production, not even hell, just in production, Ewan McGregor saying, haha, no, I would love to come back one day. And actually, he's been back the entire time already. And I'm just trying to picture Hayden coming back. Now, Deborah tells an interview saying that, she went to his house, she spoke to him in person and all this kind of stuff.
He wasn't in the first scripts they wrote that they rewrote. Vader didn't appear as well. So I found that really interesting that at that point, when they first wrote the Kenobi series, there was no intention of having Vader be part of it. And then they thought, well, we can't have the series without him.
Yeah, he's too important to it. Like, you couldn't not do it. And if he said he wasn't in it, that's just going to create this false narrative of he'll turn up at the end, which would have probably happened. It's a bit like the whole Bond. Oh, we sacked. Oh God, what's his name? The British director before. Oh God, they brought Fukunaga. I can't even talk about Fukunaga anymore. Anyway, they sacked that British director, Danny Boyle. Of course, it is. Like, yes. Oh, we're sacking him because he wants to kill James Bond. obviously the No Time to Die came
Spoiler
out.
alert.
That was a very good he's not in it type thing. He won't die in it. It's sort of relevant, I guess, but Hayden coming back to me is incredible. I mean, like, again, not dissing you. I know you are older, but prequel generation. I wouldn't even say prequel generation. Like, Hayden, like, even in the last few years, like, he just got abused. Like, he was you forget how young an actor he was on these ones. I've got to say that, like, Attack of the Clones came out. He was
19.
I think he was 19 when he was cast, maybe 21 or 22 when the first one came out, but was that Attack of the Clones? Sorry, but he's a kid at that age, and like, well, this is what makes it weird for me is like I'm older than he was after Revenge of the Sith, and to me, like, you'd always think like maybe he's in his 30s, just the way Hollywood is, and as a kid, I'm never going to understand that, but as you get older and see like he got absolutely and it's one thing for critics to criticize performances. But when it's not critics, it's not. I don't want to say demographic, but it's like it was like a thing to hate the prequels. It was a thing, and everyone did it. And you forget like how much that would have took its toll on him. And me and you spoke. I mean, we covered it back in the day with Phil on the 40th anniversary panel when he did come back, and you can find the clip on YouTube. You see his footstep on stage. That is a face of nerve. And I rewatched it recently. I was trying not to cry because he steps out. He gets the rightful standing ovation, which is becoming custom now at Celebration. Because guess what? Star Wars actually great in person because they don't hide behind keyboards. And he then says about 40 seconds later, which I never clocked, he just not interrupts, but he just takes them and he starts thanking them all. And you can see him on the verge of tears. And I think for me, like when I got the chance to meet him in Chicago, that was his second ever signing event. That was his second ever convention. Obviously, I didn't fly from England just to meet him, but when I did get to speak with him, he was like, "Wow, like you've come here from England." I was like, "Yeah," and I just said the same thing. Everyone I said, "You like my hero growing up," like because Anakin, like, and I'll be blunt. As a Revenge of the Sith, I was 8 when it came out. I turned 9 2 months after. I'm not going to make any more comments, but I know that. Obviously, I was maybe the perfect age for that film. He was far cooler than Obi-Wan Kenobi to a 9-year-old. He had longish hair. He had a scar on his eye. He wore like black clothes. Like he was the cool one. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, he was the mentor. He's like the dad. But like episode 3 Anakin, I remember like I had the Mustafar playset. You got figures and you get the volcano. I took that figure to the hairdresser and said to my hairdresser, who I've had for 20 pictures in my life,
What?
and I said, I want that hair. And he just sort of looked at me because, I mean, I guess there is like hair extensions, but I've always had short hair. And it just never really clicked that I couldn't have that. But everyone wanted to be Anakin. And the one time in my life I've done cosplay, and I still have one actually, was an Anakin episode 3. I'm not going to share those photos at all. I wasn't a fan of it. Not the costume, just I respect everyone that just cosplay because to survive in the heat those people do, airplay to all of you. Especially in buildings. But side tangent point, Hayden Christensen coming back, seeing like the last few years of just him getting again, he's done the convention circuit now. He's been in England signing, he's been all over the place. When he got announced back for this, it just felt like not hyped. It just felt so nice, and it's as simple as that. Like, is it the right thing to do? I mean, I say there's a question I know. It's a statement like. It's so nice that they've invited him back, but it shouldn't have been surprising that he got invited back to play Darth Vader, but it was. I don't know how that sort of stands with you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, especially because when we're getting just Vader, and this is going to be the focus on it, that we are going to see. And obviously, they did it in Rogue One where they had Vader out of the suit in the bacta tank, and it was just I don't know if it was I don't even know at that point it was it was an actual person or if it was a model that was in there. Wait, I don't know. I haven't looked at it properly, to be honest. But you see the body of Vader, and obviously we've seen from the clip in the trailer the arm going on and the chest piece going on. So we are going to see that again. But obviously we don't. Let's be honest. If they didn't want to show his face, they didn't need to. see the back of his head and scars again, and the mask going on. So they didn't need to have Hayden back. The fact they have, I think, goes to show that how important they feel he is to the ongoing story of these two characters. And I think it also helps that Ewan has such a good, like, such a feeling for Hayden as well. Like, it comes across in like the interviews they've been doing how much he loves working with Hayden as well. Like, they had such a good time making the films, no matter how hard a time they had with all the blue and green that they were dealing with. Their friendship, as he said, they've chatted, they've not seen each other in a long time, but they've always had that friendship between each other. And I think for them to go through the script to go, you know what's missing from this? We're missing Vader. And if we're going to have Vader, let's not just put someone in the outfit and let's not be on. They've not said James Earl Jones is coming back, but I can't see them not have got James Earl Jones for some point to get this voice on here. Where they have replaced him, because obviously his voice was certainly in Rogue One. You could hear that aging James Earl Jones' voice, and that's nothing to say James Earl Jones hasn't still got an amazing voice, but it certainly is not as powerful as maybe it once was. It's not as strong a voice anymore. So they might eventually you're going to have to move away to another actor to play that. And through video games and stuff, they've had other people play it, so that will happen. But I do think we'll get James Earl Jones in some way, shape, or form voicing in this series. And I think, to be honest, if they have done if it's his voice, they'll do it all the way through, and it'll be him speaking. But yeah, so I think it was important to them then to go, right, well, if we've got Ewan, we're going to get Hayden. The fact Deborah Chow went to his house to meet him to say, we want you back. That's not just Lucasfilm calling you and say, we'd like to send you an offer. That's the director coming to your home and saying, look, I want you to be in this. It gives them that feeling of importance to the story, which he absolutely is and deserves to be in this show. Yes, it's an Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and it's the return of Ewan, and Hayden is such a big part of this character as well. We don't get that love of Ewan as Kenobi without Hayden's Anakin as well. It just, they always come as a package that we'd expect them to be. We've seen their friendship blossom, and I just think it will be lovely to have them also reuniting on screen, knowing that's Hayden as well, even if it's him in the suit for little bits of it. Just know they're on screen together again. It's really, really important, I think, to have him back in Star Wars, and actually not just on the convention scene, but we're having you back in something that's going to be this is our big thing coming out this year, that we're looking at Kenobi to be back. And yeah, I think it's lovely for him to be back, and I think it was really important for the show.
Yeah, I'm reading that, and kind of going for what you mentioned there with him being back. If you go to Rogue One, I think it's Spencer Wilding and Daniel something that played. They're two different actors. One did the reshoots, one did the main production.
The cast,
and in 2016, and I'll say this because people pretend like this wasn't true. In 2016, and this would have been filming pre-Force Awakens. This was filming, I think, in 2014. This filmed in 2015, I think. And they couldn't cast Hayden Christensen as Vader then. I mean, they could. They literally could, but they would not.
They wouldn't have.
And the reason why is because, as people pretend it didn't happen, it was down to the reception of the prequels at that point in time.
Disney were not embracing the prequels at all at that moment. Yeah, there was not like you see now. The prequels are everywhere throughout Disney. Yeah. It's really they're starting to really embrace, which is really, really lovely for them to get this point now. But they were at that point in time. You're absolutely, the prequels weren't even. They had the Clone Wars, but that was a very separate thing that people enjoyed. It still wasn't the prequel movies. That was a separate beast. But yeah, it wasn't the best time for the prequel movies and actors.
I mean, Clone Wars, we'll get to Clone Wars in a bit, actually, so I want to bring that. But even the Clone Wars, that was on the verge. Because when they wiped the canon, they were like, everything is no longer canon, bar 1 to 6. 3 books. Was it Tarkin? So they kept the name Sheevin or something.
Well, even the books, I think not Battlefront. Oh, that there was some of the books that released that are like, these are the books that are canon, and right, even now they've taken some of those stories and changed them, and so really, it's what George out 6 movies and your Clone Wars. That's where you build out of.
And I think it's smart because it means they kept Filoni, and there's so many other things. But what I'd say, with that, even Force Awakens, they mock. Oh, do you want us to get some? Should we get some clones, not your soldiers? And I'm like, what'd be wrong with them? Like they'd follow orders. I've seen that before, but it was that haha. Let's make a joke at the prequels. And again, Episode 7, and I'll say this contextually, they had to appease everyone. People don't understand like the pressure JJ and Kathleen had for that film. Yes, to say what you want about 8 and 9, but for Episode 7, it had to be safe. Now, maybe too
Yeah.
safe is a question. Yes, there shouldn't have been another Death Star. Great joke in Lego Star Wars game, by the way, when it says, "Oh, now we'll show it in 4K," and it's gigantic. That's a fantastic joke. But they're even mocking the current Star Wars films in the Lego games again, which they wouldn't have been able to do 5-6 years ago. And I just think the prequel generation has grown up, and I really think it was Celebration 2017, that anniversary panel when they saw everyone getting that prequel love, and I think they were probably sat there. And I'm not going to put this on Kathleen Kennedy or Lucas or any of them. I think that was probably a big realization to the public that people love this. And again, Ahmed Best is another one. Talk about comebacks, and it should never have to be a comeback. I want to add as well. But Ahmed Best hosting the game as a Jedi on the Star Wars Kids channel, okay, I watched that an episode, but it's not about the game. It's like Ahmed Best was back at doing Star Wars, and he got a new role, and there's so many things like that, and it's a really fascinating conversation. I think Hayden coming back for, I'd be if they were like Spencer Warding's doing Darth Vader in Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'd be like, I don't care. But when Hayden's name is, it's like you're singing on the press tour with each other. I'm guessing you've seen the 2002 photo versus 22, and it's amazing seeing them. And as you mentioned, it is like a brotherly bond. And when you get to that fight, we're gonna know that is, even if it is a stunt double for maybe a few shots or a few scenes, we're gonna the principle of it is that is Hayden Christensen in the costume, and that's going to elevate that scene or scenes plural to another level. And what I kind of wanted to segue off about with this, you mentioned the Clone Wars. Now, this is again, I mean, I call this a predictions video. I'm retitling this. This is not a predictions video. This is like a really fun preview. Like we're just like previewing the show, we're giving it like free hype.
We are literally talking like if we weren't doing this right now, if we were online,
like we'd be at the pub.
This is just like, you guys are just watching.
Yeah, literally. And like, this is a shame it's not live, but you'll have to join us on the spoiler discussion, and we will make it live.
God, try and keep me off.
I say it will never end. Then when our film will complete the set, and we'll be like 6 hours in and the first 10 minutes. I'm joking. No. Clone Wars. I'm going to ask the question. This is the question, I guess. Are we getting the Clone Wars flashback starring Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor? This is the big one.
No. I think we're going to get that, but not in this series. I think, if anything, that might be saved for Ahsoka. If anywhere. We know Hayden is... about you, would we like to talk about your thing today that you did with the press? That
100%.
Hayden was scheduled to appear, and he's not there. They are now currently into about 4 days now of shooting Ahsoka, and he's now disappeared off and has other commitments.
He's not at the time of this, unless they get announced tonight, because Thursdays when they announce celebration guests. They put the Grand Inquisitor last week as the final guest, i.e. autograph guests. Hayden Christensen is currently not signing at Celebration. To me, to have Ewan there and not Hayden is bonkers. When they've done the press tour with each other, and I'm not going to complain, those two were scheduled in for a convention together last year, and Disney pulled the plug, which is understandable with COVID. And if anyone's familiar with conventions and sort of current situations, it varies person to person, actor to actor. If they are on a production, the chances are that the production can control who they're allowed to meet, if they're allowed to do conventions, public appearances, signing, all of that sort of stuff. Because if people want to pretend COVID's gone away, it hasn't. We're very lucky. A lot of laws have lifted where we are in England, for better or worse. Better at the moment. Obviously, we know at Celebration, everyone's got to wear masks, which is crazy to think of still. But again, different countries, different rules. he wasn't doing any photos with fans on the press tour. Ewan was. They were both signing, though, I will say that, but they were social distancing on the sofas on the one show. Yes, I unfortunately had to watch the one show. Unfortunately, what followed was even worse, as I watched the Arsenal Spurs game. And yeah, as I said, Ahsoka's filming. He's not going to be there next week. And they said there'll be special guest attacking. I will bet you right now, Hayden Christensen is filming it. They haven't officially said he's filming Ahsoka, but he clearly is filming.
He's not even announcing the cast yet. He's not been listed at all.
Was it Rosario Dawson that spoiled it on Twitter or Instagram? Did she share it?
Yeah, she said, look out, Sky Guy, they know. See you soon, Snips was the actual thing. And I believe it's in that Vanity Fair article where she says she then got an email off Disney going, you might want to take that down. She's like, I cannot be trusted. So it's just, yeah. So it's like it's out there, but it's not official down any route at all. But yeah, if we're gonna literally get a flashback to the Clone Wars, I don't think we're gonna get in the show. I think the 6 episodes we're getting is too tight for them to be going back to that. I think they're gonna expect you to kind of go into the story where we are. We're following Kenobi. We're going to see Vader. It's still Anakin. If we got a flashback, don't get me wrong, I would be as giddy as a child to see it and be over the moon. But I do think if we get any sort of flashback, my betting is with Ahsoka.
Interesting. I like that take. I think you're not wrong. I also think I know this isn't an Ahsoka preview, but that we'll have next year for that. I think I've spoke to you already. I think it was in a video when we were chatting. Like, could Ahsoka have Mark Hamill, Hayden Christensen, and Ahsoka all together on set? I think it will.
Yes.
And I know that Mark Hamill's not doing Celebration. He's filming elsewhere in Europe. But he also turned up to the Book of Boba Fett set, and nobody knew. And until the gallery came up, I still didn't know he was on that set. I just thought it was the double.
If you haven't seen that, literally go and watch that. The episode around that Mark Hamill being there is incredible.
Yes, as everyone watched it, it's fantastic. Book of Boba Fett. The gallery, May the 4th it came out. That's why I was on my head. I was like, so what's the date got to do with it? Everything. Here's my thing, Clone Wars. I think we'll get a flashback to a point, but I'm not going to say we'll have a second narrative like Boba Fett. You know how like Mando season 1, you had like probably a grand total of 2 minutes of footage across the 8 episodes, however, of well, technically it was the Clone Wars. I just have this peculiar feeling where we might get like a couple of seconds. Maybe Obi-Wan having
like an Obi-Wan in the cave having nightmares. Yeah, Jedi don't have nightmares, but is he a Jedi anymore? Who knows? So yeah, if we're going to get that, that's going to be the case. It will be him seeing what became of his friends.
Yeah, and wearing that Clone Wars armor as well. That's the one bet I have. If we do get the flashback, I think. And you know what? If you were Ewan McGregor, I know he didn't rewatch Rebels, and he didn't need to rewatch. He probably didn't even see them. He doesn't need to be fair. He said he rewatched 1 to 9. A shame. I hope he did watch Solo and Rogue One. Anyway, Hayden obviously watched all of it, Rebels and Clone Wars as well. You'd expect them to want to at least wear like the robes with the cool armor. I don't know. That's just me being sad. But if we're going to get a flashback, I think we'll get a few seconds. I think we'll get them all in their armor. I think we'll have a younger Ahsoka. And I think you're also right. That is also something they could and should delve into further in the Ahsoka series. But you mentioned the cave. I'm going to put you on the spot of another question. Again, this isn't just about seeing who or what appears. Are we going to see Qui-Gon Jinn?
See, I don't believe so. Here, I think it's 100% guaranteed that we will hear his voice at some point in that show. I think we'll see the continuation of the communication with the Force. No matter how down Obi-Wan is, I think that might be almost a voice that he's hearing trying to pull him out of the funk that he's in. Or if we don't get that, I do think we'll hear Frank Oz as Yoda somewhere in there as well. So that would be my other call. That he's gonna there's 2 Jedis that he knows can communicate with the Force, and then Yoda said he was going to teach him how to do it. So I think whether it be in a large part or a very small, you're in this cave, we're going to try and bring you out of this. I think we will hear some of that. So yeah, my thoughts would be no to seeing them, but definitely on hearing their voices.
I loved that Liam Neeson did an interview recently where he says he doesn't do cameos, and he's proceeded to have cameos in Derry Girls. I've heard really good
Derry
stuff about the
Girls,
show. I
yeah,
know
yeah.
nothing about it, and I was just
It's
sat
pretty
there
cool.
like Liam Neeson. Like you can't just say that the week of doing TV, and he's done TV before. He's done something else. I'm trying to remember what it was now. I've completely forgotten. It might have been one of the Warwick Davis comedy sketches or something. But
Oh,
Liam
he was
Neeson
in,
has
yeah, he was in the Ricky Gervais one, yes. Where he's pretty much playing an unfunny reason, and he's done Family Guy, things like that. He's done voices. He does the Taken thing in
yeah,
one of the episodes of Family Guy. So he's done stuff like this just for television. And if he's only got to
and
go to a
you know what?
recording studio as well, not appear on screen, getting in the beard and the makeup, and he can just lend his voice. Well, he could probably do that in his own house in a cupboard.
And what I love of Liam Neeson, as a kid, you know, I loved obviously Qui-Gon Jinn. I still do. I think he's one of the best Jedi's ever made. What I always laugh at well, not laugh at, but what I always find interesting with Liam Neeson is that he was obviously meant to be in Episode 3 as well. That was going to be a cameo. And obviously the bike accidents, they couldn't be in. What I was saying, what I will be laughing at, is the fact he said he doesn't do TV, but he's already been in the Clone Wars. So it's like,
Yeah.
come on, Liam. Like there's a lot of TV on his Wikipedia. You really want to. Because I think he's even been Atlanta, which is the Donald Glover series, which is crazy. I don't know the capacity of that. But someone tweeting was in that too. So yeah, Liam Neeson I think will be in it. Again, we don't want to sit here theorizing. But like I mean, we've turned this into a really cool preview, which is a lot of fun. And we've gone on almost an hour. I'm just want to not put you on the spot, but is there anything more we want to? I mean, let's bring on one thing. Actually, I said, is there anything more we should speak about? We haven't. I don't have too much to say because he is, you know, one of the most important people in the history of Star Wars. The John Williams Obi-Wan Kenobi theme. I mean, we haven't heard it. Ewan McGregor said he's not heard it. They weren't allowed into the studios. I think they were very lucky they were even allowed to record it in the studios. But it was literally, do you need to be there? Yes, you're allowed in. No, you do it via Skype. So I think even Deborah Chow wasn't at the recording session. I could get that part wrong. How do you feel about John Williams doing a theme? I mean, there's no one's gonna say anything bad, but
No, I think he when it was announced, I think I've seen a story where again it said that the one thing he wanted to do when he heard they were doing the show is he felt that he didn't get a chance to write a theme for Obi-Wan in the original show. It's amazing getting John Williams back to write any music. If he wants to do that, you know what, you say absolutely snap those hands off. John Williams, come write us a theme. It's an absolute our pleasure for you to do that. For us then to only get that theme in this show feels like it's a little bit of a loss that we're not then going to get that theme repeated when you get to A New Hope. And that's not me going, please go back and redo the music for all the movies. But I do think it is a little bit of a loss that you're going to have this, and what will probably be an amazing theme. He's not going to write terrible themes. We'll get a lovely flowing piece. I just think it's going to be then we've got this lovely, and then we'll see Obi-Wan turn up in the prequels, not the prequels, in the sequel, in The New Hope, to then not be able to then have that flow of that theme just quietly behind him when he appears again after he's done that crate dragon noise. It's just, I think it's a little bit lost that you've got this maestro doing you a massive piece of music that we're gonna get for a show.
yeah, I'm with you on that. It's going to be. It's like the Han Solo one when he did the solo theme. It was like, this is a really great theme. We're
Yeah.
never going to hear it again. And obviously, we haven't had a Solo 2, and well, by all rights, likely won't have a Solo 2 based off recent articles. Even if it was adapted for TV, that is a fantastic discussion. There's probably some really good Star Wars podcasts that have covered that. And I guess, you know, without getting too much, Natalie Holt's obviously on the score, who, you know, did a good job of Loki. But again, we haven't heard anything about the score. We're not going to theorize and hype and scream. But have we missed anything important about Obi-Wan Kenobi? I mean, listen, we've started talking about stuff, what we're looking forward to, the return of people. I don't want to sit here previewing cameos and things like that. So we'll not round off, but I just want to kind of, you know, we're 1 week away, Dave. How's this chat been? Are you?
It's
You
actually
said this,
been
I can't quite believe it's a week. This has been probably
no.
the most hyped I've felt, even though I'm so very monotone at the moment. Like today, obviously the tweets, having this chat with you, like, let's get it all out in the system. Let's get it opened up and get the body open a week
Yeah.
before, because this series, like, if I'm heading into like my final thoughts, if I haven't even reviewed it, it's a preview. This is the preview episode. My final preview thoughts, I'm going to call it. Maybe, I don't know. We are a week away from Ewan McGregor returning as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and if you know, and I say this so much, you know, when I saw Revenge of the Sith for the first time at the cinema, I remember everything about that screening so distinctly, but I will never forget him heading off into that sunset with the theme playing, with the credits showing, and me saying, "That is it. Star Wars is finished." And there was not closure. It felt like closure, but you know, I then started watching Doctor Who. I think it came back that exact same year, a month later, actually, which is a really fascinating thing. It's going to come back next year, David Tennant. And there's Eccleston in 05. But again, to where we were in 05, to come here, you know, even with the Disney era, you know, if you're ready for this, episode 3 is closer to Disney's takeover than Disney's takeover is to today. If you want that to really settle their mind, that's 10 years this year. That's mental. But just, I never thought we'd see the day where we get Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan, and to be a week away, not even a day away. Like, it is just unbelievable. And again, Hayden Christensen with him, the duo back together. It's gonna be, again, like, I've been not trying to theorize and predict, but just watching it's gonna be a weird experience. I think I'll be crying for a lot of D6 episodes.
It's I mean, you're right. I mean, when we came on for this chat, we're like going to have this, we're going to go on, we're going to discuss, this is a preview, and it's become more of just like a nice chat about Obi-Wan. I think it's actually turned out as a completely different video to one I thought we were probably going to be on, but I've actually really enjoyed going through just going through like feelings and thoughts and things like that. It's been a really nice flow. It's been a really nice conversation just to have. And like I said before, if you're watching this and just like, this is the kind of conversation we would have even if no one was here watching us. This is just, it's kind of building up to be, like you say, to be a week away. I'm really intrigued to see how it starts. I'm really intrigued to see how they end episode 6 of this series. I think it's going to be really important, their landing of that, and to see where we leave Kenobi at the end of that story. Not so much Vader. I don't think that's as important, because he'll have his face off and then he's still Vader inside. That's not changing. He's not going to get a change of heart at any point in this series. So it's more important to me is how they finish Obi-Wan's story in this show to when we see Alec Guinness in A New Hope. And I think that's kind of a really important journey to be closer to the Alec Guinness character by the time we leave the 6 episodes. Whether we do or not, who knows? We will know this time next week. We will know. What day is it? Thursday today? Yes. This time next week, I'll be sitting up going, "Oh my god, it's tomorrow!" It's God, I can't believe it. We're getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Hayden Christensen's back. We're getting Darth Vader again. We're going to get the meeting before A New Hope. This is just beyond my little fanboy wild dreams. I am so enthusiastic about it.
No, and that's absolutely fine to be like that. Again, you mentioned a week's date. A week's date will be Star Wars Celebration as well. It will actually have already been, at the time of us two recording this late evening, we've already had the fact that, you know, going off the Vanity Fair article you mentioned, I know we're wrapping up, but we'll say this next week. The fact that that article is like a prelude to their panel, like, this isn't like most celebrations. We're going to preview a film coming out. This is our panel with all of our shows, brackets, stuff that we don't even know is happening yet. And you know, it is one of them. And the reason I've been dawdling, sorry, you know, I mentioned this has gone from predictions to a preview. We've even updated the scroll bar. So comment your thoughts on what you're looking forward to. Again, like, there's nothing wrong with doing predictions. You know, I always say this: predictions are great. We've theorized stuff for years, and that we've done it tonight. But you've got to be able to accept that unless you are a writer or Deborah Chow or Ewan or Kathleen Kennedy or anyone actually involved, you have
We have no idea.
power in the conversation. Yeah, you don't have the idea.
Yeah.
Like even people that leak stuff, people that claim they're specialists, you can change stuff in post. So by all means do predictions, but when predictions don't come true, there has to be a line drawn. Just because something didn't happen that you wanted to see, it doesn't mean it is bad. There is a reason why these are professionals working on these productions of these magnitudes. And it's fair to critique them if you think you can, but not like us when we're in rooms filled with merch and really cool merch at that. And we're going to buy merch for this show. I'm sure we don't even need to say what merch. There will be merch, and I bet there'll be a Lego set that will have them dueling each other. That'll be the new Lego dioramas. I'll be happy to jump into that. But yes, please do comment your thoughts. Are you looking forward to this? If you're a fan of Star Wars, hit that subscribe button. It's been Dave, I know we're friends, and we've done these videos for years. But as you said, just doing this 1 hour chill chat tonight, we'd have had this discussion.
Yeah.
As you said, if Bill was on, God knows, we'd be going for 2 hours. And then we would have
Phil.
We're
talking right now. Wouldn't have even got up talking us yet. It would just be Phil. We'd have to cut him out of the chat.
Everybody, please do get involved. Kenobi's not going away. Star Wars isn't going away, and this may be a sign what our spoiler discussion is going to be like from now on. We're going to be able to have these fun discussions and talk about what we've witnessed, and when we know what we're witnessing, of course, we'll do that. But if you want to follow us on social media in the meantime, we mentioned the Twitter thread tonight. Follow us on Twitter at cinema_savvy. We had the entire thread from the press conference, and there might be more stuff coming once the recordings are sent out to us. And also find us on that other social media, Facebook, Cinema Savvy, letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy, link to TeePublic in that description below. And also, Dave, I've got a link to your channel in the description. Where can people find you and what do you do on your channel?
As always, you can find me over at The Life of Brian on YouTube. Model builders, the main thing. I'm building Ecto 1 at the moment, although I haven't done a video for a few weeks. I'm pretty lazy. You can more find me as well on my Twitter feed, which is The Dave Brian, and that is me pretty much chronicling my movie watches for this year and not much else. I'm up to movie 122 for 2022, which is awesome. Almost finished the Brosnan era of James Bond to move it in Daniel Craig to watch back, and then I'm jumping hopefully back to my Oscar watches to try and finish the 96 best pictures before the year's out.
Dave said, everybody follow Dave on there, subscribe to his channel. It's well worth your time and investment. And Dave will also be back next week talking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He will.
Episode 1 and 2 spoiler discussion, Friday the 27th of May, 8 p.m. British Standard Time. We'll have more details on Star Wars Celebration, our plans for coverage as a channel. We'll probably have that on our socials across next week. We are still working on stuff. We love Star Wars. We wish our lives were just Star Wars, but unfortunately we do have other commitments and other things, so we can't 24/7 do Star Wars. Maybe one day, if we won that lottery like those lucky people did, we would make a reality. Who knows? But join us on them. It's going to be amazing, and you'll get some more familiar faces across the weeks that follow. So to everybody at home, thank you for watching, for listening, for getting involved. It's been a delight, as I keep saying, Dave, but I keep saying that too much. I'm going to have to end it for today. So thank you all for watching, and be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.